Dira's film is premiering this month, and we'll take the chance to talk here about self-referential authorship and also taking space, which is a topic that has been there for us on the table since we're doing this project. But also we want to talk about the film and your experience in the film, because the film is about...
So A for Andra is going to be screened at Queer Exposed Berlin Film Festival. It's on the 31st of May at 8:30 p.m. at Babylon Kreuzberg. So come and watch the film and enjoy.
You know how much I love the idea of television and playing around with the formats. And this is something that I really loved about your film, that is an experimental documentary that really plays around with television formats. Because if you don't know, Dira is a former MTV
VJ
TV host. And the film uses this like in front of the camera presentation, but also interviews and some other playful formats. I'd be curious to know how you ended up in this project, actually.
Basically, my friend, Charmaine Po, who is the director of the film, she had experience in the media when she was young. She was a child actor, and then she created a short film about it. It's called Young Buddy. And then from there, my friends were telling her actually, oh, Andra was also working in the media when they were young. And then they were kind of famous also in Indonesia and had a media persona. And
Andra is you. It was you.
Andra was me. Used to be my old name. And then we were showing the videos like in YouTube, how I was hosting, and then we were joking around. Maybe we should make a sequel of like the young buddy, the experience of a young buddy assigned female at birth, like femme buddy being exposed in the media, being traumatized as well. And from that idea that we thought it was just like a joke, and then Charmaine reached out to me and said, I think it's a good concept to create a film about it. And from there, we experimented with formats, with archive, with the 2000s television styles, and also my personal stories of how I was being a media persona, and then how I am now in Berlin transitioning with a new body and a new person. So that's a little recap of the film. If you want to watch it, and don't forget to buy the tickets.
So essentially there were 15 years from the time that you were a TV host for MTV back in Indonesia, and now that the film is coming out, and also that we are doing this project that I like to think as some kind of television of our own. So I guess there are some parallels there. And the topic of being more visible or putting ourselves in this position has been there for us in the last weeks, of course. And I remember this moment in which we were in the middle of the recording and you said something like, oh, but there are really people that would be interested in listening to me. You remember what I said? I said like, babe, like, you're some little faggot from Indonesia. You can take all the space you want.
And I feel so seen in that moment.
So I want to ask you, how's this process of going back to this position, but now under different terms? How has it been for you?
It's scary to be visible again. And I know this decision is not only for myself, but for a lot of little Andra, I hope, that could see like, oh, there are people like this exist, and we show the confusion, the transformation, the fluidity in being human. Not only that we are sharing trans story too, but like there's also just human experiences and friendship there. And that's when I come to the terms fun, because I did the film with my chosen family. I'm very blessed that the crews are like all queer and trans, and I got the chance to work also with amazing queer artists in Indonesia as well. And to go through this intense emotion, because it was a very triggering experience as well for me, like being repeated in front of camera and acting and doing all of that with this support system. It was fun and healing. I didn't feel all this dysphoria, like watching my old self like 15 years ago, the ones that I didn't feel aligned, but I could laugh about it and like actually really feeling like, oh my God, you existed, you were there, and it's actually so fucking cool what you were doing. It's a different perspective now to see my past being in the present with the changes that I decided for myself, because I want to get closer, to be more authentic with myself. And that's the fun part of it. Yeah. So that's about myself, and enough about myself. I want to know about yourself, because you told me that I had this insecurity of like, somebody, like other people want to listen to me, and you had this insecurity of like, how do you take the mic and talk in front of a camera, because you were so used being in the behind the scene production stuff.
Okay.
How do you see yourself now in front of the camera, talking, taking space?
I would have expected it to be harder, to be honest. And I am surprised how fast I got used to it, because I used to be very private online, wouldn't post anything. And of course, like not myself talking in front of the camera. I think there are many reasons why it's easier for me. One of them is because I feel very good with you, and this is what it has always been, us just talking, and it really feels like that. Another reason is, of course, that I am more confident about myself than I was a few years ago, and that makes it easier. But maybe the main reason is that I used to think of putting myself in this position as something that was about me in that sense, and then therefore I would care what people would say more, you know. But now lately, with everything that's happening in the world and trying to find something to do that feels it makes sense in these times, it was less about myself, and therefore putting myself in this position was easier. You know what I mean? And then also at some point we were talking about how easy it is for some people, white men and and others, to take the microphone and say whatever is in their mind and not to think twice about that. And then for me, it was such a long process to value my voice and what I have to say. And then at some point I was like, come on, like this is more important. And therefore, like all the other things that are actually noise, in the end. And it just made a lot of sense to put out there our experiences, and that's what it is. And that's why it's so easy, I think. I don't know.
And you showed me one short film that you did. It's about your meaning of like making film, and then your self-referential motivation about why you are doing film. I'm interested in knowing how in the beginning, the process for you to, all right, I'm going to make this kind of format. And then secondly, what changed in your perspective about the self-referential art form in the film scene as well. Yeah.
Interesting, because I don't usually see myself as a filmmaker in the sense of like having a career as a filmmaker. I've made some films that were published, and then I was at a film school and I was also producing some of the films that never saw the light of day, and I don't know if they will, maybe, I don't know. But actually, I see filmmaking as an extension of documenting life, which is something that everybody does. Like, everybody takes photos with their phones, and I don't see my practice as something different than that. It's just like some fluidity. I do have a camera. I don't always use my phone. Sometimes I do. But for me, it's just that. Therefore, it's self-referential. But this brings me to the other point of about your second question. What changed in my perception about these? And I guess it's just that I came to the conclusion or understood that everything is self-referential. We just don't frame it like that in many cases. Like, if you made a documentary about somebody else or an external thing, the documentary is not about that person or that thing. It's about your relationship to that person or that thing. Even if you think you're telling their story. And that's the thing. That for me is very hard to imagine myself telling another person's story, just because I don't know why I would put myself in that position. It just feels weird. And then my story is underrepresented, so I don't know why I wouldn't talk about my story. Also, as I said, like, it's been such a journey to value this story and my voice and putting myself like in this position. So that's what feels good, you know? And as we also talked in the episode about terminology, I think people should do that more. I think white people should talk more about whiteness, for example.
Yes.
And not go to the global south to make films about topics that they don't know about.
To raise awareness.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy. And it's crazy. And even within the filmmakers here in Berlin, like at the film school I was, there was like literally on the Telegram group somebody who said like, give voice to people who don't have voice, you know, which is something that I don't know. I would expect filmmakers to know that you don't say that, you know, that people have voices. What they don't have is platform, money,
resources.
Exactly. So if you want to give something to them, give them that.
Give them, not create a film about them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so yeah, like in the end, everything is self-referential, and I don't know why sometimes we pretend it's not.
Even in fiction also, you created another story in fiction, but I know my friends who are like, still it's based on my stories. It's just like a different characters, different name, and different spices there, but still everything that you put, it's self-referential. And one of the things that I wanted to add is also this experience of healing. You know, when we are talking about us, we are presenting the stories and rewrite the stories as well. And that confrontation, I told you, it was so scary, and it was a very essential part of me to now finally be here and feeling comfortable in front of the camera and taking the space. Because if I not only taking the space, we are creating the space as well. Sometimes the space is not even offered for us. You know, we need to actively create it in your home, you know, like, let's do it, bitch. That part of doing this artwork, and actually we are getting to know ourselves deeper by doing this self-referential. Sometimes people make it as, oh, you're so full of yourself. This is also connected to our topic about self-love, right? And then my insecurities as well. Like, am I talking like, is people gonna want to listen to my stories? And then like, no, yes, like, yes.
You would have liked to listen to this story.
Yes. I would have loved to see a character in the media like this, you know, that I didn't have. In Indonesia, I always had like crushes on media persona, like a person who is like, we call it buci. It's like the butch. In Indonesian language, we call buci. It's like a tomboy girl. But then that's it, you know. And then I found myself like, wait a minute, there is still like limitation there, or like constraints that I couldn't really move myself freely, that now writing my own film, like co-writing it with Charmaine, yes, like we both talk about it, that it's a story about me and I have the authorship. I have the autonomy, agency, what kind. And of course, I wanted to do it with Charmaine because we have connection. Like you said, we are friends. It's about the director and the person who is in the documentary. Having this experience of co-writing my own script for my own film, for my own stories, and working with amazing crews. And I remember me and Charmaine, we were talking that it's a story that I have authorship, I have autonomy and agency, what to put. And that in the end, I wasn't only being the protagonist, the one that is being the subject. As you said, no, we are co-creating this together. We are co-writing this together. She is the director, and we made sure that I have the agency of everything. I wasn't being only the protagonist in the end. I jump into doing the sound design as well, and then I was having so much fun learning about myself in that sense of being creative that I didn't know I could. It's so many layers in self-referential art that I said healing and also discovery, what you could do, especially when I didn't have any degrees or like backgrounds of film study or like art. There was also one of my first insecurities of going into the art scene, that I needed to go to university first, and then I was just so used to this academic-oriented society that you need to have a degree, then you can be a filmmaker. You need to have a dance study degree, then you can be a dancer. No, like I am learning so many things from my friends who are so creative, and the self-allowance kind of thing, like I allow myself to be in that space and explore and discover things that I never done. It's part of the learning. Yeah.
You know, I have been writing about media representation, trans people, and sustainability and all these topics. And at some point, I realized that our friends, the ones that we have around, are so talented and so brilliant and so fabulous also, that I just didn't understand why they wouldn't be in the media, or let's say the mainstream media, as like, or not mainstream media, but like reaching more people. And I started to think about cultural movements and collectives. I'm writing about the Studio 54 and also about some Latin American writers, and how media made a myth out of these cultural movements. And I realized that nobody's going to do it for us. So we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, I'm writing about this. I'm not going to say more.
Info below.
It's coming out in June, I think, because my printing appointment was cancelled. So now I need to wait. It's coming out in June.
And the possibility that we have right now with internet, with social media, to take the space and create the space that I think we also agreed in, like, we don't miss the opportunity.
Yes.
We're not missing the opportunity. We know it exists. We are existing. We exist. Fabulous people here exist and thrive and slay everywhere. And then you're right, like, it's not documented. Sometimes I have also this thought of, like, I look so gorgeous, and then I was just like going up, like, this should be documented, you know? Like, where are my photographers? Like, wait, come on, this should be documented. And this is the part of taking the steps, like, and I'm so grateful being here. I know we are still babies, we're doing it, and talking more about it, how we are moving in this scene that we're creating ourselves gives me more confident in, yes, I'm gonna talk about myself, and we know the self is collective.
Yeah. And if you don't know, you can go watch our episode on self-love.
What is love? What is self? We are in a cringe era that we might feel cringe watching ourselves or listening to our own voice. What is your relationship with cringe culture?
I thought you were gonna talk more about it.
You said you're ready.
I'm ready to listen to you. Okay, but yeah, when you say cringe era, I thought you were referring more to like younger people like Gen Z because they cringe a lot about everything. But actually, I think that if we compare to 20 years ago, we are more used to listening to ourselves or seeing ourselves in general, right? Like because we send voice notes and sometimes we listen to them, right? Yeah, you know, I mean, I do it to see if my point came across because also like I am not always so articulated. contrary to contrary to what you might think, I'm not. Not always. So then, at least about my voice, I was used to listening to my voice. And then video, yeah, it's a new thing. But as I said, I'm surprised I got used to it so quickly. I think it takes like a few days. I'm editing. So for you, it might take like a few weeks. But I was like editing the first episode and I was like, okay, so this is how I talk, you know, and yeah, I don't know. Actually, it made me feel more confident about myself, you know?
Yeah.
But also it requires some radical acceptance for sure. Yeah. And regarding cringe, yeah, I think it's very sad because it's related to all this internalized shame. And hardship that the new generation. Oh my God, this is the first time I say it like that, you know, in this context. The new generations, the lack of or hardship that they have with socializing and pretty much everything in life.
And comparing also to others, because it's so easy to just compare, and then there is like this shame and insecurity that you feel cringe, right? And I think for me, I was forced to watch myself, to listen to my own voice, to correct myself when I was working in the media, that the crew were like, you need to watch your own video and then criticize yourself to learn, because I can tell you and then you can listen to it and then it goes out because it's from somebody else. I want you to have the inner critic for yourself. And then there was the moment when, there was no cringe in that sense. It was like I needed to see myself. There's things that I'm like, that's how I look like when I do this, and then my face was a little bit tilted like this, and it was, in the end, I wasn't judging myself. I was neutrally serving myself. It's a different perception, you know, because it could go to like inner critic, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't like how I look. I don't like this. And then I was just focusing on the things I don't like. But my cruise back then was just like, no, focus on what you need to optimize. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like, oh, you said this word so many times, you need to change it, or like certain movement. So from that skill, or from that force skill to give feedback to my own self, now I'm so comfortable being in front of camera, doing my own stories. Like you see me posting, dancing with my underwear or hugging trees or just like talking. It's just, and if you see it's cringe, it's your own insecurities. You know, I don't see myself. If it's cringe, then let it be cringe, you know, and then it's actually more of the radical acceptance.
So
Wollen wir?
About your film, do you want to do some self-promo
Yes.
again?
Yes. So, A is for Andra is screened at Babylon Kreuzberg on Sunday, the 31st of May at 8:30 with another amazing short film. And it's in the program called Watering the Seed. And come, support, vote. There is also an audience award. So, and also enjoy, have fun with the film. Come to me, talk to me in my contacts, give me feedback, and do your own self-referential art. We need your story too. We need all the important stories.
That's a good note to end this episode. So until next week.
Until next week. Ciao.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Please no. Bitte.
Bitte. Bitte nee.
Bitte, Dira. Okay.
Okay.